Hi, Candace. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, before we begin, I'd like to go over some limits of confidentiality with you. Is that okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
So, everything you say stays between these four walls with a few minor exceptions. So, the first one being if you tell me that you have plans to harm yourself or others, I have to report that. Also, if you mention that you know of any current child or elder or dependent adult abuse, I have to report that as well. Also, sometimes, it rarely happens, but it sometimes does. My notes from our sessions could be subpoenaed by a court of law and they'd have access to that information. Also, I am a student, so we're recording this interview right now, and my counseling processes class will see it and will go through it and process it, and after we do all that, it will be deleted in a timely fashion. So, is all that okay with you?
Yes, that sounds good.
Okay, so why don't you tell me about why you came in today?
Um, well, I've just been having a lot of problems with my roommate,
Okay.
and it just kind of doesn't seem to be getting any better.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm not one to kind of express emotions, I
Okay.
guess, so it's hard for me to like kind of just be like, hey, like I'm mad at you or I'm upset at you, like, because I just don't do that kind of just like when I get mad, I get I shut off, and
Okay.
so like recently, or I mean for a while, it's
Mhm.
been where we don't really talk as much anymore, or
Mhm.
I'm always in my room doing things, or I'm always somewhere else, staying for a couple days. So like, um, it's just been weird, and I don't know, like things are just kind of weird between us right now.
Okay. Um, Tell me a little bit about your relationship before all of this happened.
Well, we met through the website for the graduate school
Okay.
to try to find roommates, and we like kind of just hit it off really well.
Mhm.
We had emailed a couple times back and forth,
Mhm.
and then we finally met when we moved into our apartment. And I mean, we were friends, and I don't know if it was just because like neither of us really had anyone up here at that time, or hadn't made friends with people in the school yet, but we just really like hung out all the time. We like would do things together on the weekend. We seemed like we were good friends. Like our interests are the same interests. Like we're not like different in that way. We kind of share the same interests, and um, I don't know. Like we just became good friends, and also just like with the time and everything. Like
Yeah.
I mean, you're with that person kind of like 24/7. Like,
Mhm.
this semester has been a lot harder than last semester because our schedules were opposite.
Mhm.
So I think that also helped because I would have class in the afternoon and then she would have class at night. But now we're kind of on the same schedule of like kind of when we have class. And I think that's been what has like caused some of the stuff just because we're together so much now. And, um, just having to live in the apartment together instead of kind of like opposite schedules.
I see. Yeah, it can be hard to just spend so much time with one person, especially after last semester you didn't really spend a whole lot of time with her, so now it's an adjustment.
Yeah. And like, I mean, we were good friends, like friends enough to where we were able to, like we went on a cruise together for spring break, and I think that's where a lot of our problems are coming from. Like before spring break, I would have to like take a break from her, not because like, I mean, just because you were spending so much time with each other. Like, I mean, I had to take breaks from my family as well, and so like we would have breaks from each other, or like kind of like me shutting off, just kind of I don't know, like she talks a lot too, and sometimes I feel like she like wants to talk to me just because of like my background in like school and stuff. Just because I'm going to school for counseling, and she says she has these problems with like anxiety and depression, and so I feel like sometimes she just talks just so she can kind of release it all. And
Sure.
I also just find that kind of annoying just because, like, I don't know, I'm there to be her friend, not her, like, therapist and stuff. And, so before the cruise, we kind of had a little rough spot, but, like, everything was fine. We were fine going down, and I don't know, just on the cruise, it just got, like, really weird. And I don't know if, like, I just kind of realized, like, what kind of personality she had, or, like, if this was her, like, all along, and I, like, was just realizing it, but she just kind of was, like, very selfish and, like, did her own thing. And, like, on a cruise, like, that's just, like, you don't just leave the other person hanging. And, like, she would, like, just leave me, like, when we were laying out on the beach and stuff, and go do, like, stuff or meet people. And I'm not one to, like, go off and, like, meet a bunch of people either. Like, very, like, not reserved, but I don't know. It takes me a while to open up to people, and I can't just, like, go up and sit to someone and start talking to them. So, like, she would go off and do that, and I would just be kind of stuck and not knowing what to do. And there was just times where she was just kind of, like, there was this guy that she was interested in, I guess, and, like, times when I would, like, talk to him, because we like, met this big group of college students who were on spring break as well, and so we kind of, like, went with them. And so, like, when we would talk to get to know them, like, she would always just give me, like, this dirty look whenever I tried to, like, talk to her. And so, like, stuff like that just kind of, I don't know, it just made me mad. And so then I just shut off and not talked, and, you know, probably, like, just made her, like, realize that I wasn't talking. And I don't know if she knows me well enough to know that, like, that's when I get mad.
Sure.
Like, my family knows that, you know.
That's your coping.
Yeah. And so, yeah, and then after the cruise, it was good because, like, she went home for the second week of spring break, so we had that nice break.
Okay.
So it was better when she came back, and we kind of talked more, but I don't know, it's just kind of been all up in the air. And and then recently we had another big kind of, like, blowout with our roommate, or our neighbor, not our roommate, because our apartment complex, like, our building, the fire alarms were going off.
Okay.
And both of us were gone, and so our neighbor was calling us to, like, see if we can get there, because the fire department was coming, and they needed to get into our apartment. And neither of us were, like, or I had answered, and she wasn't answering. And I, like, remembered, like, that I saw her curlers on, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, what if that was it? Well, then our neighbor took it a step too far and was, like, blaming Megan about it. And so then it just, like, all blew up. And I had gone out with him that night to, like, I don't know, we were just hanging out. And I guess he just, like, kept texting her, like, rude things. And so then when I came home the next morning, she just, like, went off on me and was like, because I guess one of the things was, like, you know, like, everybody wants you to move out, so why don't you just move out? And which isn't the case for me at all. Like, so she just kind of confronted me, which is fine. Like, good to be confronted with. Like, that's probably more where I would actually speak my emotions, as if I was confronted. So yeah, it's just been very, very, like, stressful, and just not really annoying, but an annoying way that, like, we're living this way. So yeah,
it's hard because home is supposed to be a place where you can go to relax, and it sounds like your home environment right now is very stressful, so I can imagine that would be really difficult to go home and be in that environment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna go home and kind of stay in my room, I guess. And, you know, not really, you know, kind of just, like, tiptoeing around just so we, like, don't really have to talk, but kind of talk. And it's, like, weird leaving, and, like, she's still there, because then you're like, okay, I'll be back. And, you know, it's just, like, it's just
still
weird.
That tension.
Yeah, there's some tension. I don't know if, like, she sees it or not, or how it feels. I mean, she did, like, come up and be like, and I was like, do you have a problem with me? Like, is anything, like, going on? And I mean, at that point, I was just like, you know, like, since the cruise, it's just been weird. So I, like, told her, and we, like, kind of talked about, like, the cruise, and why, like, everything happened, or, like, why I was mad, and, but at the same time, like, I feel like I need to be, like, nice to her and everything because we still have, like, a couple months on our lease. So, like, I don't want her to move out because, like, I can't afford that place, like, on my own, and so, like, I feel like that aspect, like, is making me be nice, not, like, me wanting to just be nice to her.
I see.
So, I don't know.
It sounds like you both have very different personalities. How she maybe is very outgoing and she's not afraid to express her feelings and emotions, and maybe you're a little bit more reserved and like to keep your emotions and feelings under wraps. So maybe when you guys first met each other, you were united by that factor where she didn't really know anybody in Valparaiso, you didn't really know anybody, so it was easier to get along with that, and your schedules that kind of didn't match up, so you weren't always together. And then it sounds like lately that stuff has slowly been building up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess, like, I've always kind of, like, drawn away from her just because, like, there's also things, like, I don't know if she, and this, like, will probably sound rude, but I don't know if she, like, thinks before she speaks, because some things, like, that she'll say, it's, like, it just, like, comes out very, like, rudely to me, and I don't know if, like, she realizes that, like, especially on the cruise, like, I mean, I didn't go on the cruise searching for guys, like, that's just, I was on vacation, you know, like, I don't, like, search for guys anyway, so, like, and, like, I feel like that's, like, her stage of life right now, where she's, like, has to have a guy, like, wants the guy's attention, and so, like, there was just comments that she made, like, on the cruise of, like, well, why haven't you, like, met a guy yet, or why haven't you done this yet, and, so, there's just, like, some of those things that, like, she says just because, damn it.